New month, new first reads book. Hey guys, welcome back. So today I'm going to be picking out my book through first reads through Amazon. So if you're unfamiliar with Amazon first reads, every month at the beginning of the month, they give you a selection of books that their editors have picked. All of these books aren't released yet. They'll release, so this is April, so they'll be releasing May 1st. So you get to pick one of these books to have, and then you can read it before it even comes out. So it's a pretty cool feature. So I'm just going to kind of go through and decide which book I want. Okay, so normally I will look at the editor notes on Amazon and then go over to Goodreads and kind of see if Goodreads can give me some more information. But most times I find that the editor notes on Amazon are either completely unhelpful, like it's just the editor being like, oh, I'm so excited for this book, and it doesn't actually tell you what the book's about, or it tells you the exact same thing that Goodreads tells you. So I am going to skip the whole editor notes on Amazon and just go straight over to Goodreads and see what Goodreads will tell me, because I feel like it will actually give me, like I said, more information or the same information. So our first book this month is a domestic suspense book. At the Quiet Edge by Victoria Helen Stone. Okay, so At the Quiet Edge. Abandoned by her fugitive ex-husband, probably a good thing that you're not with him anymore, Lily Brown is rebuilding her life on the edge of a Kansas town that still feels the sting of his crimes. Okay, Lily lies low managing the isolated storage facility where she lives with her 12-year-old son. Are you living in a storage box? Her son's name is Everett, and she's planning a better future for them both that requires keeping secrets. Everett has them too. After breaking into a storage unit, come on, Everett finds photographs and news clippings of 5 girls missing for decades. For Everett, it's an adventure and a tempting mystery to solve. But digging further into a stranger's obsession is putting Everett and his mother in the crosshairs of a killer. Everett. When Lily's ex resurfaces from the shadows, just as suddenly an attentive new man enters Lily's life, and a suspicious detective responding to reports of a prowler watches every move Lily makes. It's getting harder for Lily to know who to trust, or whose secrets pose the most frightening threat of all. Kind of interesting. Kind of like, my first initial thought is like, well, is the ex-husband the fucking prowler and the guy with the storage unit, because he's a fugitive, but it's probably not that. I'm terrible at guessing like the twists and turns of books, but that's where my first thought goes, is like, let's look at the ex-husband. Okay, so our next one is a historical fiction, The Half-Life of Ruby Fielding by Lydia Kang. So The Half-Life of Ruby Fielding, that kind of, the title of it makes me think of like all of I feel like there's been so many books these past years that have been like coming out that are like The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which I actually really liked, or like the 7.5 Husbands of like Evelyn something. I haven't read that one yet. I think I wanted to read that one, regardless. But that's kind of like what that makes me think of, is like the first and the last name being in the title of that one. This is a spellbinding historical mystery about hidden identities, wartime paranoia, and the tantalizing power of deceit. Okay, it is Brooklyn, 1942. War rages overseas as brother and sister Will and Maggie Scripps contribute to the war effort stateside. Ambitious Will secretly scouts it for the Manhattan Project, while grief-stricken Maggie works at the Navy Yard, writing letters to her dead mother between shifts. But the siblings' quiet lives change when they discover a beautiful woman hiding under their back stairs. The stranger harbors an obsession with poisons, an affection for fine things, and a singular talent for killing small creatures. Why? And as she draws Will and Maggie deeper into her mysterious past, they both begin to suspect she's quite dangerous. The lady who has an obsession with poisons and likes to kill small animals, you think she's dangerous? I would think so. All while filing helplessly under her spell. Get away from her. With whispers of spies in the dark corners in the world's first atomic bomb in the works, the visitor's sudden presence in Maggie's and Will's lives raises questions about who she is and what she wants. Is this mysterious woman someone they can trust or a threat to hold a threat? I'm just imagining like going down your back stairs and there's this lady just there just poisoning animals and you're like, should I trust her or is she a good person? Like, I feel like this one would annoy me. Or a threat to everything they hold dear. Like, at the end, is she really going to be, like, just misunderstood and, like, an actual, like, good person? Or, like, you know, a bunny killer? Moving on. Ooh, true crime. Okay. So normally, kind of like murder mystery type things, they used to give me nightmares. But lately, I have been watching a lot of true crime, like, YouTube channels. And I've been actually super into it. So I'm actually a little bit into this one. Well, I don't even know what it's about yet, but I'm like, oh, true crime. Like, I actually am interested in that for once. Okay, so this is The Vanishing Triangle, The Murdered Women Ireland Forgot by Claire McGowan. Ooh, this is so short. It's only 186 pages. Ooh, sad though. So it has 68 ratings, but it's at a 3.26, which I don't feel like that's pretty good. The other two were at like 4 stars or something. They had less ratings, but they were at higher stars, even though I didn't think they sounded very good. Although I don't know what this is about, so this might not sound very good either. Okay, so this is a crime investigation that casts a dark shadow over the Ireland of her childhood, the author's childhood. Okay, Ireland in the 1990s seemed a safe place for women. With the news dominated by the Troubles, it was easy to ignore non-political murders and sexual violence, to trust that you weren't going to be dragged into the shadows and killed. But beneath the surface, a far darker reality had taken hold. In this candid investigation into society and circumstances that allowed 8 young women to vanish without a trace, no conclusion or conviction or resolution for their loved ones, best-selling crime novelist Claire McGowan delivers a righteous polemic against the culture of secrecy, victim-blaming, and shame that has left these women's bodies unfound, their fates unknown, and their assailants unpunished. McGowan reveals an Ireland not of leprechauns and crack, but of outdated social and sexual mores, where women and their bodies were of secondary importance to perceived propriety and misguided politics, a place of well-buttoned lips and stony silence, inadequate police and paramilitary threat. Okay. Was an unknown serial killer at large, or was there something even more insidious at work? In this insightful, sensitively drawn account, McGowan exposes a system that failed these 8 women and continues to fail women to this day. Okay, so it's only 186 pages, so I don't feel like she's going to like kind of dive specifically, I don't know. I can't tell if she's going to dive specifically into like the circumstances of all of these like disappearances, or if she's just gonna kind of do like a blanket thing where it's like, oh, the investigation wasn't performed as it should have been performed, which you see a lot in true crime. Not really sure. I'm more interested in like, especially the YouTube channels that like are in specifically like one case and like you can like, you know, it's like an hour-long video and I can like really like get interested in it. So I don't feel like in 186 pages she's going to be able to interest me. Okay, so next we have a book club fiction, Such a Beautiful Thing to Behold by Umar Turaki. A small town cut off from the world, an unexpected community of survivors forges a family out of the despair, struggling against things known and unknown for survival and hope. A mysterious plague known as the Grey grips the small village of Pilam, which the world has quarantined without pity. Laying waste to Pilam's residents, the Grey saps its victim. The Grey saps its victim. I don't know why I'm laughing. The Grey saps its victims of strength, drains the. Let's start that over. Laying waste to Pilam's residents, the Grey saps its victims of strength, drains the color from their eyes, and kills all promise until their last breath. Only the young are immune. But beyond the barricades and walls of soldiers, the manifestation of a nation's terror, there are rumors of a cure. Dunca, the oldest son of a family reeling from the Grey, takes on the daunting task of leaving Pilam to find the cure for his siblings and save them before it's too late. His siblings, however, have plans of their own. Navigating the chaos of violence, hunger, death, each of them tries to make sense of the bleak circumstances, forging new bonds with their juvenile survivors left to their own devices. Well, they don't really need a cure, though, because for the juvenile people, because it says that the young are immune, and there's only young people left. Now, an unlikely family of 6, they choose their own perilous paths, at first separately, then together, coming to terms with the decisions they make and the ghosts they cannot leave behind. Okay, lots of really bleak things this month. All these covers look sad. Oof, kind of. I mean, that one looked like a pretty cover, but it sounded sad. The rest of them all look really like, ooh. The Last Goddess, that one looks a little happy. So does American Seal, but, well, in the children's book, but they're not gonna have a dark children's book, I don't think. Okay, moving on. Epic fantasy. That's cool. The Druid. The Dawning of Mirwood by Jeff Wheeler. All right. An abandoned child becomes a singular inspiration to the mythology of Mirwood in an epic series by Jeff Wheeler. Wall Street Journal best-selling author. Eileen was born a lowly foundling raised by the Aldermaston of Tinnerton Abbey. I'm so sorry. My pronunciations, man. Then she was chosen to assist in establishing the new Abbey of Mirwood, and now the site of a castle in the swampy Bearden Moor. Eileen's role is as knight servant to the Druid Mordaunt, the king's exiled advisor and prisoner. He's clever, dangerous, and invaluable to the Aldermaston. I'm already like, what? I usually like fantasy books, but I like more just kind of like fun, like carefree, like fantasy, not like hot, not like deep fantasy. You know, like I have a hard time like immersing myself into like this like a deep fantasy. And I feel like this is already like, woo, over my head. Okay, Mordaunt's priceless secret, the hiding place of an ancient tomb that reveals the existence of other worlds and the magic between them. Mordaunt knows how potent its words are and how dangerous they could be in the wrong hands. But can Eileen win him over? All she must do is gain Mordaunt's confidence and trust and persuade the apostate to divulge his secret to her. But as she learns more from Mordaunt, her loyalties begin to fray, and the risks are greater than she imagined. Despite betrayals, deceptions, and deadly motivations of others, a girl from the flax fields is about to rise above her station. By exploring the potential of the power in an ancient spoken magic, Eileen is coming into her own. Okay. Like I said, I feel like that'd be a good, like, well, it's called epic fantasy. I feel like that would be really good if you like are into like really like deep fantasy, but sometimes it just seems a little overwhelming for me. Okay, so next we have a suspense book. Looks scary. Strangers We Know by Elle Marr. Again with these. Man, these books are like, why can't we? I kind of want something light and like nice. They're all kind of like very like not. Okay. We have a serial killer book. The search for a serial killer leads a woman into the twisted tangle of her own family tree in a chilling novel. Adopted when she was only days old, Ivy Hahn knows little about her lineage. But when she's stricken with the mysterious illness, the results of a genetic test to identify the cause attract the FBI. This is just like the book from last month. Oh, what was that called? It was something Her. I picked it. I picked it. I didn't read it yet. I still might, but I can't remember what it was called. I'll put the picture of it. God, according to Ivy's DNA, she's related to the full moon killer who has terrorized the Pacific Northwest for decades. Ivy is the FBI's hope to stop him from killing again. Okay. When an online search connects Ivy with her younger cousin, she heads to rural Rock Island, Washington to meet the woman. Motivated by a secret desire to unmask a mysterious relative, Ivy reaches out to what's left of a family of strangers. Discovering her mother's tragic fate and her father's disappearance is just the beginning. As Ivy ventures into a serial killer's home territory, she realizes that she might be the next victim of poisonous blood ties. Okay, so is it her dad? Was he the serial killer? Is he still currently killing? He's been terrorizing the Pacific Northwest for decades, and he still is terrorizing the Pacific Northwest for decades? Constantly? Okay. Are we sure? I'm a little interested. A little bit. A little interested. I don't know if I want to choose two books that are very similar 2 months in a row. So we'll put a pin in that. Okay, so next we have a literary fiction, The Last Goddess by Kateřina Tučková, translated by Andrew Oakland. Okay, so this is a translated one. Ooh, I've never had a book not be on Goodreads before. That's weird. Is it because it's translated? Okay, that's so weird. I've never had something not be on Goodreads before. Ooh, we're gonna have to read the editor notes. As Dora investigates her family's history, aiming to prove love spells, vengeance, curses, and healing whispers are superstition and fairy tale, signs keep appearing that cause her to question her doubt. Perhaps the spirits of her ancestors are communicating with her through archives and news coverage, sources her 21st century mind is inclined to trust. Dora carefully rereads a story she always dismissed as folklore, digs deep into the history, interviews villagers in the White Carpathian Mountains, and gradually comes to respect and understand her aunt Sermina. Perhaps her resistance to seeing the goddess within herself is Dora's way of rebelling against the status quo. She is amazed by the daring validity of these women who came before her, and the more she understands about the obstacles and trials history has thrown in their path, the more she relates to them. Okay. So it's a book about, so the top says, I love books about witches, whether they're innocent women with unusual habits or profoundly self-identified cauldron stirrers, so I adore this spellbinding novel. It tells the story of Dora, who is a student, a skeptic, and the last in a long line of goddesses who serve their communities as healers and conjurers. Okay. See, I don't feel like there's anything that's like light and like happy this month or last month. I don't remember the month before that. So now we have a memoir. Okay, Helena Rowe was 6 years old when her family left Korea for America and its opportunities. Years later, her Koreanness behind her, Helena had everything a model minority was supposed to want. She was married to a white American doctor who had a beautiful home, 2 children, and a career as an assistant professor of pediatrics. For decades, she fulfilled the expectations of others. All the while, Helena kept silent about the traumas, both professional and personal, that left her anxious yet determined to escape. It would take a catastrophic event for Helena to abandon her career at the age of 40, recover her Korean identity, and set in motion a journey of self-discovery. In her powerful and moving memoir, Helena Rowe reveals the courage it took to break away from the path that was laid out for her, to assert her presence, and discover the freedom and joy of finally being herself. It's a memoir. They're all kind of the same. I feel like the memoirs are all kind of the same, where it's like, you know, it's a memoir. Like, what do you expect? Okay, the children's picture book looks super cute. I never picked the picture book, but it does look really cute. I feel like I'm leaning towards that one, The Strangers We Know. Yeah, because I don't know. I'm not like, it would be interesting to read them both and see which author does it better. I've said this like a million times already, but I feel like lately the books have been kind of bummers. Like they've been dark, and they've all been about like serial killers or like mysterious deaths and all this stuff. And it's like, can we have a happy story, please? Like, I don't know. I mean, I have been watching a lot of true crime lately, but I don't really want to like also read about like murders and stuff like that. Even though I just said I'm going to pick the suspense one about the serial killer, just because I am a little curious. Like, are you still killing after decades, or is this like a decades old case? It was unclear. So I think I'm going to go with The Strangers We Know. Okay, guys, thanks for watching today's video. Don't forget to let me know what book you picked in the comments, and we'll see you next time. Bye!